Hey guys, welcome back to the channel today. Now I know it's been a minute since we've done a Cyberpunk video, but it's here, it's back, and it did not disappoint. Because this episode, yet again, was fantastic. This show really hasn't had a miss so far yet, honestly. I gotta be real about that. But you know right away, when the episode opens up, and we just see this really well animated sequence of what appears to be them in a very heated battle. Everyone's scrambling, going everywhere, and we just see David standing there, just taking everything in slow motion. Just how visually appealing this is, and really showcases that Studio Trigger has kind of been flexing their muscles a little bit on this show, because Cyberpunk Edgerunners has been fantastic so far. But enough of that, let's just get straight into it today and talk about episode 4 of Edgerunners, because it was great. So our episode today really just boils down to David wanting to be a better cyberpunk. Just trying to do whatever it takes to get more gigs, to get more cred to his name, and to really just get more experience in the game. Because that's what he wants right now. He doesn't really know what he wants to do, but he knows he wants to be a cyberpunk, and he'll do anything to do it. To the point where he's pestering the shit out of Maine. And can I say, David's got some of the worst timing ever. I'd be so pissed if I was Maine and David was calling me in the middle of this. I'd be like, dude, what the hell are you doing? I gotta call you back later, man. But he's pestering Maine for jobs. So Maine actually sends David on a little quest to go deliver something to Pillar. And I just love that we hear a certain line from the guy who's giving him the gig, where he says, we're going to find out soon if you're the shit or if you're just the shit stain. And I actually really love that, because I think that perfectly encapsulates this episode. And what we're trying to do is we're building David up through these gigs. So as David gets to Pillar's apartment, we see Rebecca there, actually, the walking meme herself. And we find out that they're brother and sister. And that shit is so fitting. Let me just say that. It's so fitting. I can absolutely see that being the case. They have a not so friendly relationship, to say the least. But it looks like David and Rebecca have a pretty fairly friendly relationship, because she's definitely into him, guys. Let me say that right now. She's throwing out all these signals left and right to David, and he's just oblivious. He don't know what's happening. She's definitely into him from what we've seen so far. That's how I feel, at least. And as David leaves the apartment, he actually gets a call from Lucy asking him out that night. But it's not what he wants, unfortunately, because Maine actually told Lucy to take care of David. You know, like, hey, this kid's bugging the shit out of me right now. Like, he wants to work. He wants to spread his name. And he's pestering the shit out of me. Like, you've taken in strays before. Like, tire this dog out, because he's tiring me out. Now, this part of our episode is really broken up into 3 separate parts. You know, a conversation with Lucy, a conversation with Maine, and us seeing them going on their missions and David growing little by little. Because let's face it, in some of his early missions, David was not doing good. He was getting tossed around. He was getting just beat on and lagging behind. But over time, as he's been training himself and grinding more and more, we see that he's finally starting to get into the Edgerunner life, and he's starting to make a name for himself. And he sits down and has a conversation with Maine, where Maine tells him, all right, David, like, you need to carry a piece with you. Obviously, cybernetics are better and the way to go right now, but until your body's used to that, you need to carry a piece. This is a matter of life or death. Now, we see over the course of our episode, David and Maine really bonding with each other, kind of becoming like a big brother to him in a way, really showing him the ropes and making his transition into the cyberpunk world good. They're growing close. They're having fun together, you can tell. As Maine actually asks him, like, how are things going with Lucy right now? So as we transition to David and Lucy training, he's really asking her a lot of personal questions, like, all right, so why'd you do this? You know, like, why'd you become a netrunner? Like, how old are you? Like, really trying to get a feel for her, like, the real her in this situation, not the front she puts up. David actually starts asking her about that Pillar situation from the previous episode, so saying how, so I saw you guys kind of being chummy together, and she's like, there's nothing there. And he's like, you sure? It kind of looked like there was something there. She's like, oh, he acts like a mentor sometimes, and turns around, gets grabby. So I had to fry his ass that night. David is obviously mega relieved by this, like, fuck yeah, I got a chance. And she asks him, well, what about you? She asks him, are you really serious about net running? As we see them go on more missions. And over the course of these missions, you can tell right away how much closer they're getting with each other. Like, at first, it might not have really been anything. Like, you could tell that she's kind of just happy to be around him. But you can tell right away that stuff starts forming. That she's definitely paying more attention to him now. It's clear as day. It's here we transition back to Maine and David's conversation, where David's trying to deny that there's anything there. Like, nah, it ain't like that, man. And Maine just tells him, bro, we got eyes. We can see. We can clearly see that there's something here. David's like, well, maybe it's more like she ain't into me like that. Maine's like, yeah, I can see that. As David tells him, maybe I'm just sick of trying to figure her out, you know? She said she wants to go to the moon, man. David's like, she was probably just trying to stall me for time, but she took me to the moon with a special BD she had. Maine's like, bro, you went on a date to the moon. What are you talking about? Shit, there's nothing more romantic than that in Night City. Now, as they're training, Lucy actually tells him, like, hey, I'm kind of impressed you've been able to keep up with me. Your skinny-ass physique. And he's like, is that supposed to be a pep talk or anything? I don't go down easy, you know? And she just gives him a look. And this look is unbelievably telling. Like, she's clearly becoming more and more interested in him. David actually goes and gets implant lungs so he can run better with Lucy. Just so he can impress her a little more. And it's here that David's really trying to get a feel for Lucy's. He keeps asking Maine, like, so she's only been with your crew a year, huh? He's like, yeah, Kiwi picked her off the street. She's a natural, she said. She's fantastic. But if you want to know, like, go ask her yourself, kid. Like, I don't care at all about people's past. As long as they get the job done, then we're good. Him and David fist pound. And you can tell right away that they're building, like, a broship. They're definitely becoming friends. They're bonding. This is definitely a mentor relationship. As we see David really start coming into his own, getting his own style. And we get one nice shot of the crew, the whole crew, and you think, man, we're on top of the world right now. But this is probably the only full shot we're gonna get after this scene. And as we get our triumphant scene of them walking down the street, of course it's gotta get ruined by Pillar yelling at some dude who's pissing on the side of the street. And I mean, hey, that shit's gross, to be fair. I don't blame him on that. But he's gotta start some shit with him. So he gets right in his face and starts some shit with him. And everyone thinks, oh, nothing's gonna go wrong. Nothing's happening. We're good. Till Pillar's brains get fucking blown out right then and there. And everything just freezes. Because we're back to the first scene of our episode. As we just see that this was the commotion that started it all. And everyone's freaking out, except for David, who's just completely frozen up right now. And like I said at the beginning, this scene is beautiful. I think they did a great job with this scene. The way that this series really showcases cyberpsychosis is actually really cool. And I love how they do the eyes, how they do that, just to signify that, yeah, this person's lost their mind. Maine has to actually snap David out of it by kicking him out of the way to wake him the fuck up. Like, yo, don't freeze on me now, motherfucker. And as time comes back to how it's supposed to be, obviously, Rebecca's not exactly happy. Her brother just got his brains blown out. You know the golden rule of anime. Never mess with a mad lolly with guns. It never goes well. It never does. Maine has to actually ask Kiwi to shut Rebecca down because she's being such a hindrance right now. Now, David, throughout this whole commotion, is just worried about Lucy, trying to find where she is. And she's hiding behind this cyber psycho. But he eventually finds her and tries to take her out. And David actually jumps into the fray. With the San Devistan, he's able to get there quickly. And he's able to actually get a gun to this guy's face. But it's here that he hesitates. It's here that he starts remembering his mom. And he starts vowing to himself, I would imagine, that will never happen again. I'll never let that happen again. And it's here that the hesitation fades away as he pulls the trigger and blows the guy's head out. And we get a really cool shot, actually, of just the hole, and we see David's expression, really showcasing that this was the edge and he just jumped over it. And it's here, obviously, after saving her, that he goes and asks Lucy if she's alright. And again, she just gives him a look, guys. I think it's this moment right here that leads us to the end of our episode. But we'll get to that in a bit, because the Cyber Psycho is not dead yet, and he's about to take David out. But our boy Maine comes in with the clutchest save ever, and takes this guy out. As Rebecca just starts unloading on his head. I'm just like, geez, man, he's already dead. Stop, he's already dead. So after the fight, Maine tells Lucy that, alright, you need to go to a Ripper Doc. You're kind of fucked up. I'll send Dorio there with you. Me and Kiwi will hang back and tell the pigs exactly what happened. David, you end up going with them. And of course they do, and they end up at our favorite Ripper Doc, of course. And as they're waiting there, Dorio just gives David one of the best alley-oop assists I've ever seen, where she just says, alright, I'm gonna leave. Make sure you get her home when she's clean, alright, David? Oh, by the way, Maine left his car here for you to use, so yeah, go crazy with it. And I'm just sitting here like, David, they just set you up so well, man. Don't blow it. And as Lucy comes out the Ripper Docks, we get a nice little reverse of our previous episode where she comes out and she sees that David's waiting for her this time. As David actually goes and tries to take her home. And it's a pretty awkward situation, to say the least. She immediately tries to go inside when they get back, but David calls her out and says, hey, can we talk? Can we talk for a little bit? And they actually head to the roof to talk. As David tells her, yeah, remember that BD we did before? That was fun. And it's here she tells him that, I had something I wanted to talk to you about too. She says, I know how it must look to you, but it's true. It was actually the first time I told anyone about my dream. Which, like I said in the previous episode, that's just what it felt like to me. She could be lying right now, but I don't feel that way. I really don't. I feel like that really was her first time telling someone that. And of course David's like, oh shit, yeah, I kind of like that. I like that you weren't lying. And Lucy's like, well, what if I'm lying now? David just tells her, nah, I don't see it at this point. Not from you, I don't see it. You should have told me that earlier, the truth of that. She's like, I couldn't. You were too mad at me at the time. David's like, hey, it's not like I wasn't mad at that time, but... Okay, yeah, I was probably a little angry, but I'm not holding a grudge against you. I wouldn't have jumped at that raging psycho earlier if I was. As Lucy actually calls him a liar and says, you're the guy who jumps into the fire to rescue someone, even if you end up getting burned in the process. You're just that type of guy, David. David's like, what is this? Do you just think I'm not going to be a good merc? Maine seems to think I'm a good merc. As she tells him that, no, that's not it at all. I think you would make a good cyberpunk. In fact, you probably already are one. You don't make a name for yourself as a cyberpunk by how you live. You make a name by how you die. And that's not the life or the end you deserve, David. David's just like, what's that even mean? How am I any different from you? And she just tells him that, I got nowhere to go. This is it for me. You and I are worlds apart. As David just tells her, like, in what way? How are we different at all? In what way? And it's here she starts getting frustrated by it. Because she knows that he's right. As David tells her that, I'm going to take you there myself. I'm going to fly you to the moon one day. He makes her that promise, and in that moment, she kisses him, actually. All the emotions finally come out and she kisses him. And she reveals the real reason why she's trying to deter him so much. Is that she doesn't want him to die on her. And we just get these two really good scenes where we just see close-ups on their face. And Studio Trigger really did a great job of animating the emotion right here. As David actually kisses her back, way more passionately this time. We even get to see them on the moon doing it, which is a great visual as he tells her, I won't. And that's how our episode ends today. And this show, man, it really is elevating more and more. It's getting better and better. I do have a complaint, though. Like, I really would have liked for us to see these kind of scenes in, like, an actual episode and not just a montage, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I get it. They grow close with each other, but I really would have liked to see that more, have that more flushed out instead of them kind of essentially just telling us, like with pictures, but telling us that, yeah, they got closer together. See, look, here's 30 seconds of it instead of a full episode, you know what I mean? I would have liked to see that more. But besides that, this show has just been great. Like, the character interactions with each other are crucial for this show, and I think they're just nailing it. They're really nailing the aesthetic of the world, too, the cyberpunkian world. I think they're doing a great job of showcasing that. Yeah, the world's mega different. Standards, what people do, what's the norm, everything's different. And being a netrunner in this world is no easy feat. It's not something you do half-heartedly, as Lucy was constantly telling David throughout this episode that. And while I think it is happening a little quick, it's very believable, David and Lucy's relationship, honestly. Again, it's happening kind of quick, but they're doing a good job of laying the groundwork to exactly how these two are hitting it off. Like I even said in our previous episode, like, there's no way this is fake. You don't fake chemistry. And these two just have great chemistry with each other. And I think the show has done a great job of showcasing that. And I can't wait to see where we go, honestly, from this show. Like, David's finally getting his legs in this world, and I'm really curious to know where we go from here. But that'll be next time, guys. So until then, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And just deuces, have a blessed day. And yet again, get you someone like David or Lucy, guys. Trust me on that. But I'll see you guys next time.